Back in Alpha 3.17, my space nerd friends, Star Citizen dropped refueling into the game. But if you've been playing the game since then, there's a good chance you never encountered it. Really, there are only 2 ships right now that can refuel, and they're not great. And the refueling process itself is also a little bit... I mean, when you bring in Star Citizen's sort of jankiness, it makes things like refueling, which requires docking and undocking from each other, much harder. Also, there is the big problem that we still don't have surface beacons. It's not great. It was very much a 3.x version of a feature, as they did. And since it was dropped in 3.17 back in, I think, 2022 or 21, it hasn't really gone anywhere. So now with 4.8, we're seeing them bringing up refueling improvements and focusing on it pretty heavily. Some people are calling this the biggest patch of the year, potentially. I think it's far too early to call that, but it's no question that bringing refueling into the game is going to change the game quite a bit based on what they've said they want refueling to do and how they want the game to play. So I've pulled together a bunch of videos about how they've talked about this feature over the past several years and how they're implementing it first, into, just close my tab, and how they were first implementing it into, come on, bring it back. There we go. Into the game in Alpha 4.8. If you enjoy these kind of deep dives, we do them all the time right here on the channel. You could subscribe and check out more. If you want to come and join us live and have some conversation, because we oftentimes go down some tangents during this, check us out. Usually Mondays, but Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, all the best days of the week, you know? Trying to aim to give you some more context, let you know why the heck things are happening in Star Citizen and where it's all coming from, because there's too much history in this game to follow it all. Now, the things they say here might not all be exactly what's going to be the case going forward. It might be that things have changed, but this should give us at least a good idea of where they want to go. So starting off in 2021, this is the EUPU gameplay team. You can see that Torsten is here. He's very commonly involved in a lot of the big features, generally around industrial gameplay. But also you have, I think, what's his name? Let's see, it reminds me of a Todd. Don't remember his name though. And then, gosh dang it, I'm really slipping on names today. Can't remember his name, but he has moved on from the company since then. But these guys are talking generally about industrial gameplay and get into some refueling. So we'll listen in here. There's Tree in the chat. He could probably tell you.
Last question on refueling before we move on. Ground vehicles.
Oh, this is, yeah. So this was about refueling and ground vehicles. Quick and easy answer.
Are refueling ground vehicles ever going to be a thing? I mean, do they even need gas right now? I don't think so.
It's also like, I don't think they have a fuel right now, do they? So, but the good thing is, so once they would have, we could have a solution to that.
It's not a problem. Once we do this, I think we will have to see how docking between two land-based vehicles will work, because that influences this. But once they start having proper fuel, I don't think it's a problem of bringing your tanker, whatever, truck next to your friend's whatever tank, and starting a refuel process. We'll have to see, because a lot of this refueling work means standardization of fuel ports throughout. Right now, what was it? How many ships, Thorsten? Do you remember how?
No, it's but I think it's above 160. Is it?
Exactly, somewhere there. It's in the hundreds. By the time we get this, probably we'll have vehicles in the hundreds too. So. That's where the problem comes. The system we can develop fairly quick.
I remember that always threw me off. I was like, what, vehicles in the hundreds? We don't need that. But I think maybe he's a little tongue-in-cheek. And
especially if we have ship refueling already done. I'm not worried doing it for land vehicles, but it will be retrofitting all of the land vehicles to have fuel ports. For example, for the ships, we're doing this right now for ships, and we've gone, well, what does make sense? And where does it make sense on every ship? And we found a very good logic here. Is like, if it's pretty much facing forward, facing towards that same direction as ship forward, and when that boom arm comes is in view of the pilot, that is pretty much the best position you can get. So you always get that view of the boom arm coming, approaching. You can kind of go left.
Actually, the interesting thing about that he's talking about is that there are generally 2 fuel ports on a ship. I don't know how strictly they're sticking to that standard, but a lot of them do have 2 fuel ports because you are supposed to be able to fuel from while you're flying around, like we're used to with docking to docking, like we're probably going to in this upcoming feature drop in 4.8. But then there is also what you would expect when you're in a carrier. So you can see an example of it here in the Squadron 42 demo. These tubes, you see this? See how he's dragging it?
And believable an experience as possible.
This used to pop up in the monthly reports back in like 2022, maybe 2023. Some of you might remember they were working on rope tech, which is another one of those things that people were like, space game working on rope tech, bed cloth tech, and you know, it's a thing to complain about. But I do think it is being used in these kinds of situations where there will be some kind of hose that you have to connect to refuel. This could just be a Squadron 42 specific thing, but like I said, you will find fuel ports in places that are accessible by FPS like this. So I think even though we're probably just going to land inside of our Idris, use the mobiGlas menu, and refuel our ships right now in this first release in 4.8, eventually you'll have to actually plug something up. Maybe. I'm taking everything with much larger grains of salt as I see the way that they are starting to pull back on some of the more immersive elements. All right, our next drop on the tour of what the heck is refueling and where did it come from is a little talk with my man Todd Pappy. For those of you who are a little more new to the project, Todd Pappy was running Star Citizen's development up until, I want to say around the end of 2024. And he went on Star Citizen Live a lot throughout those years and explained a lot of the direction the game was meant to go in. And a lot of the stuff he said is a lot of the same stuff a lot of folks who have liked this game for a while agree with and enjoy. I said a lot just now. So here he is talking about a little bit about refueling and the direction they were going in at the time. Again, this is 2022. I don't even remember what he's saying here, but since it's here, it must be important.
The sweet spot that we're going to be looking for is like how often do you actually need to refuel? Like we don't want it to be like you have to refuel every 15 minutes or every 20 minutes. Like it should be that it takes longer. You know, it's not something that you go through. Or
I just want to point out Ocean 911. The chat called him old dreamy eyes. Which I love because honestly, the man has beautiful. You can't tell in this video because it's too low quality. But man, does have
think about
eyes.
Every single, ideally hour. So my sweet spot, I think, is basically between an hour and a half and 2 hours that you need to be thinking about it. That's just from straight flying. Now, obviously, that'll depend on what ship you use, how you fly it, so on and so forth, and then also. If we're talking about quantum fuel, then it also depends on how far you're jumping, where you're jumping to, so on and so forth. So, like, I think that we are doing a rebalance, for it. But again, I think this will be our initial stab, and then from there we'll do tweaks and tuning, as it goes. And it might be that we're hitting very specific ships afterwards, or it might be, we just do a kind of general rebalance as well.
I think this is going to be the name of the game for everything Star Citizen related that was added in 3.x. We're now going to see this kind of 4.x version of the same thing. From refueling to mining, probably salvage, all of them are going to start to see these more advanced improvements coming off of the back of systems like engineering coming in. We can talk a lot about how disappointing engineering has been as a gameplay, but key to remember, engineering is gameplay that exposes the resource network. The resource network is not the gameplay. The resource network is the system. And even though engineering is, it needs some work. Let's be honest. The resource network that drives it is still what's letting them start doing more of this stuff that's refueling, probably going to let them do more stuff related to the bases in Starkitect when that comes in. Seriously, keep an eye out. I bet you when Starkitect drops, they're going to try and highlight the resource network being built into it and being able to do more missions in it, because they're yet another kind of a 3.x style of drop was probably one of the last. Oh man, these missions, location repair missions. These were dependent on the resource network, but the locations they're supposed to be in were not ready for it. So they only put them on the Pyro outpost because the Pyro outposts were made more late, right? The Stanton locations are all from pre 3.16, I want to say. Yeah, like these derelict spaceships and maybe like the derelict outposts of 319 or 318 or whenever they started adding those in. These are locations that were made with the old system. They weren't made with the resource network in mind. The Pyro outposts were, but CIG has dropped the ball on Pyro, so we don't get to see that. Since there are no ground outposts in Nyx yet, we really haven't seen what actually the game looks like with the resource network in ground locations. I think that's going to be a big thing for them with Starkitect, and I think just like with refueling, it's something that we're seeing a kind of rejuging of now that we've gotten past the big server meshing resource network stopgap problem. I don't think that's going to solve everything. Just in this section of development, it feels like it's something that's going to pick up real quick. Here is the EUPU team again, 2022, dropping in some more details about refueling. I actually think in this video specifically, he talks about next steps, where they're going with refueling, which I find very funny, because like I said, we're 4 years later. Listen to this.
Already mentioned. So that is the only...
Man, our internet is freaking terrible today, guys. I am sorry. It's so bad.
There.
Will there be an easy way to share your location for refueling?
This one hurts me.
Once we get the beacon system sorted, then yes, there will be.
But that's not 317.
Sadly not.
Okay. Well, I think we just added an answer to this one already. Where does refueling go after 317? Service beacons, but also
service beacons. There are some gameplays that didn't make it that we envisioned for the refueling. So one thing, I think most of you are aware that there's this mechanic of this hidden stash fuel if you are stranded in space and you completely ran out of fuel, so you cannot theoretically dock to the boom arm anymore. So you have this reserve fuel that allows you to use this dedicated only with docking to be able to dock to the Starfarer again. This is just something there because we didn't get the tractor beam right. So there's supposed to be a tractor beam functionality that can pull you in, as well as we envisioned a more direct nozzle control, because right now the nozzle is very static. So it's a stiff nozzle, but we also wanted to have some direct control over that. And tying to that, we also wanted to make it more interesting in flight for the player attached to the Starfarer, so that there's a tension gameplay. So if the forces to one side or the other are too high, you as the attached ship have to maneuver against them. So this is something that we also wanted to have there, but it didn't make it for T0.
So a lot of that is included in what they're bringing in 4.8. Basically, when you look at these things and you fill in that gap, you can see that it's the same people, right? Generally the same teams working on these features. And in 2022, they worked on it, and they basically took 4 years off because now they're getting to those next steps that he's talking about. But this is how you connect the dots with CIG and everything they say when they say it's about the priorities and we're working on this because this is what the priority is, and that's not in development right now, but it is going to come. This is how it always works. They say what the next steps are, and It could be 3 weeks from then. It could be 3 months from then. It could be 3 years from then. But eventually it does, well, a lot of the times it ends up coming back around. But ultimately, this is, I think, going to be how a lot of these features go. And this isn't the last time. They're going to do this, touch on refueling. We get to see what it is in 4.8. It will probably be lightly touched on from there going forward. I think they are getting better right now at bringing in features like engineering, and not LAMP, but some of the more in-depth features, and slowly kind of iterating on them patch after patch. 4.7 did see some engineering improvements. 4.8 likely will as well, and so on and so forth. What else is there, though? What else were we talking about? I think this is we got Mr. Pappy on here again, 2022. What's he saying about it refueling in this one?
With refueling coming to 3.17, will we see any NPC missions that involve this type of gameplay?
Not for this release. I mean, considering right now we're still getting the feature. We're basically finalizing the feature right now. Like, we're putting the finishing touches on it, and then with a lot of the AI focus being on S42 right now, like, this is one of the things where, with our kind of adjustment more towards S42 focus and getting the feature teams working towards that stuff, and with S42, they need, a lot of different things that we need, meaning like, planetary nav mesh or AI, or basically AI flying in, landing on planets, reinforcements coming off, these types of things that are a little bit more combat focused. So that's really where a lot of their energy is going into. If we do this, it would be one of our feature teams on the PU, helping to build up those behaviors and working that out. But right now, it's not planned.
That's because everything was Squadron focused for the last 4 years. So now NPC missions becoming a thing in refueling could potentially point towards people having actually moved over to Squadron to take care of this stuff. Probably something that many of you have assumed so far, but it's nice to be able to start to get real, tangible, one-to-one examples of where we see Squadron 42 devs starting to move over to Star Citizen and how that's making a difference in the stuff that they're delivering. Let me see if there was anything else in here about refueling. This is another update that we got. This was last year. No, 2 years ago. May of 2024. A little bit more of an update on refueling in the direction they wanted to go in with it. I don't even remember what the details of this one are.
An oldie, refueling. Refueling and rearming. We'll combine the two there. This question from the community simply says, how is rearming out in the field supposed to work? If we land our fighter in a Polaris, for instance, how do we restock?
So if you run ballistic ammunition, we will allow you to restock the ballistic ammunition.
Just to confirm, I'm seeing in chat that Bite Size Hobbit and Sigelian were doing refueling on Friday. So it works. Sounds like it might be glitchy, but there's something working about it. Hello, Luna Maria. Welcome in.
And the way that it will work is you will buy ammunition containers that then you will use to refill the pool of the ships that you either landed, or if you...
A heads up, this is also something that we're seeing in a possible upcoming patches. Ship ammo is now starting to be delineated by size. So that's probably in preparation for loading ships. You can now basically keep ammunition in boxes on the capital ships. And then when you land a small ship inside one of those capital ships, you will be able to use the same service as the Mobiglass in a space station to rearm your ship from the cargo grid of the capital ship. So there's a little bit of logistics starting to come into military operations, and they're building it specifically for this new PvE fleet battle they're bringing with 4.8. But this is all the way back in 2022. And you can see, once again, same names, same faces are talking about this. They were working on other things. Torsten was very, very in-depth for engineering for quite a few of these years. So you can imagine it took him away from refueling, which clearly is the kind of thing that he's talking about even now. So that you can kind of connect the dots here of how this went along. But Refueling and repair clearly pretty closely related.
You even have like a capital ship or a bigger ship, you will be able to put those boxes with the ammunition inside. Right now, it's a dedicated slot, but it's subject to change, and then it will basically drag the ammunition out of it, and then basically put it to the pool. One change that will come with that is that we will. So this is something that is coming sooner than later, which is we will unify the ammunition size. And that's just for the fact that we don't want to have you bespoke ammunition, for example, for your bearing Gatling, but we want you to share the ammunition between different weapons that share the same size of ammunition. For example, a size 3 Gatling uses the same round size as a size 2 repeater, and it uses the same size as a size 1 repeater, so you can plan your load out accordingly. If you
so that's what I'm talking about. We're actively seeing right now.
Just
in the
want
leagues.
to buy one type of ammunition for your ship.
And what about for things like bigger things like missiles and torpedoes?
Yeah, we already started with that, right? So the tractor beam detach attach was the first step already for that. So the following steps are then having these. I think I don't know if it was ever put out, the images of the. I might be leaking something now, but there's like we had those missile racks, that the mobile missile racks that you could push into vehicles. So these might also see the light of day at some point.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Dude, I haven't heard them talk about that in a while. Getting to rack large ammunition or weapons so that you can easily pull them on and off and into other ships, because the method of putting torpedoes on the Polaris right now is basically you have to carry it all the way up the ramp. It'd be nice to have a little pallet meant to carry multiple of these things around.
I don't remember if we've shown those other, but that's been an idea that's been floating around development long enough that we can share that. Basically, the idea of storing missile racks inside your vehicles that you can then, when the ship lands in something like the Polaris, you basically go and reload and stuff like this. There's also, I have no idea if it's out yet or not, but Tyler will have a post on Spectrum later today concerning some of the weapons for the Retaliator and some of the missile counts for the Firebird. So I don't know what the details are specifically, but check that out. There's some improvements coming in a 3.23.1a patch or 2. Again, the specifics elude me right now, but but I know that the Firebird is look out for that. If that hasn't posted on Spectrum yet, it'll post later. And then trust him for the details, not me. Are we like
last time we saw that was CitizenCon 23? I think this is so this would be the next time
to
after
see
that.
missions for refueling?
So this is the refueling mission a question again, but this is only 2 years ago. So the question changes a little bit now. Before they were talking about they needed to get rid of the Squadron roadblock. Let's see what they say this time.
Yeah, it's something we want to do, but it's not a simple thing to do. There's a lot of like downstream dependencies that we have to rely on for it, and there's a lot of edge cases. You know, if we're doing refueling and then you board the ship and kill the AI pilot and you've just got a free ship because you sat there like without any fuel. These are sort of things we need to catch and protect against. We also need like a crazy amount of feedback for the player so that that they're like, right, I'm nearly full, or hey, I need some help, or maybe we do like, hey, here's the first version, it's just refueling, but then we have refueling, but you get pirated, by some AI pirates. The AI needs to be able to react and communicate with you as the player and sort of like tell you about the situation that's currently happening so you can sort of adapt appropriately. So long story short, yes, just probably not yet because we need a few more things.
Need a few more things.
What'd you do to Araka? Araka in chat says, please don't let this guy do missions. You got timed out by Knight Rider, but...
Go on, Knight Rider.
You making friends out there, Elliot?
Always. Everyone loves me.
If you go on camera, you end up having more and less friends. I think this is probably the last, second to last excerpt we have of them talking about refueling. This is just 7 months ago. So in 2025, just a quick check-in with the vehicle guys about refueling plans, I imagine.
About rearm, repair, and refuel from a hangar inside a capital ship like the Polaris or Idris.
So this is one I can talk a bit more about. Like, this is on the feature team schedule to be delivered in the near future. I'm not going to give a date, and it's
good call.
Required as as part of some other planned content, where we're going to allow ships to land inside, select other ships, and then be able to refuel, rearm, repair on board those ships using the parent ship's resources inside their cargo grids. So if you've stocked up your ship with RMC and hydrogen fuel, the ship that's landed in will, at this moment in time, may change when it releases, use the existing Mobi-Glass repair rearm screen and go, I want to repair rearm, and it will take it from the resources.
And
I think...
Go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's not technically like blocking us from releasing any ships apart from, I think, the Crucible. If there's others, I can't remember them right now. But I do think it...
You mentioned the Crucible.
Add a lot to... Oh, thank you. The like the kind of the multi-crew experience that isn't just focused around... Well, I guess it is still sort of related to combat anyway, but I think it will still add a lot of kind of gameplay to some of our larger kind of multi-crew ships.
Now, I do want to clear up some stuff, folks, for Kemi. Hey, Kemi. Been a while. And folks who are saying Ironclad and Crucible and stuff. No. This is what John said, and I want to reiterate this here. Select hangars of existing ships. This isn't something for new ships, although it is something that will apply and make things like the Crucible and the Vulcan.
Oh my God, watch it be like Lamp, where they bring it in for some of the existing ships, but then the big ships that need this as they come out, like the like the Javelin releases, but it can't do this.
Possible down the line. This is making it so. Let's just take a ship with a big hangar as an example, like in Idris. If you have extra munitions, you have extra fuel, you have extra repair goop or whatever sitting on your cargo grid, and somebody lands a ship on the same cargo grid, you can reload, rearm, refuel, and everything from that stock. It's not going to be every ship. It's not going to be every hangar, but there will be, like I said, it's on the feature schedule right now, and it's necessary for some of the interesting content that we have scheduled for the next year. So, know when, but it's on the schedule and being actively working on, and it's needed for some of the goals that the gameplay teams have. So
this stuff's become more important because it's needed for the content they're delivering. I mean, it's definitely necessary for the game itself overall. But compared to the way that we were talking about things back here, when it was more about, how are we going to help players get fuel? It's a lot of this talk. It is definitely now focused mainly on, well, it's diversified. You've got the hangar form of it that they're bringing in with the larger ships. You've got the actual ship-to-ship docking form of it that they're improving with the refueling here. And then also the missions that are coming in alongside that. I don't know what they're actually going to try and focus on when they release this. There's a lot of different ways they can go about this. It could be a full-on redo of the whole feature, and it looks and feels really good for everyone. It could just be something that's a little more useful for the missions they make specifically, and not so much for the sandbox. We won't know until probably... Evocati's coming this week, so we'll start seeing this, or at least hearing about this, from people who are in Evocati as early as this week. We'll probably see an Inside Star Citizen or something that's talking more deeply about this by the 8th of May, I would say, that week probably. And likely a Star Citizen Live that talks a little more about it. But here's the most recent thing they said about it in Star Citizen Con last year, besides possibly a couple mentions in recent Star Citizen Lives. We didn't know about the narrative content before. This was the reveal that this was the content that required the refueling they were talking about.
Once the power core goes down, the turrets come down, and then the capital ships can get closer. Why is that important? Because during all of this, you spend a lot of ammo and munitions and ballistics, and you're going to want to top up.
This is where we're going to get our new feature in, ship hangar refueling and rearming. You're going to be able to land in the hangar of select ships and be able to use the same interface as you are right now at stations to refuel and rearm.
It's specifically for ships like the Idris and the Polaris and other ships that are designed to have other ships land inside them.
Of course, it'll be more than just those two ships, and you'll find out more once we get closer to release. But this is a really important feature that we're really excited to get out.
We still haven't found out more, but we will soon. And that, my friends, is a deep dive into refueling and a little bit of rearming too. Just a kind of general, how are you going to service ships, maintain ships? And the biggest thing here that still annoys me to no end, I don't even think I have the most annoying thing to me, which was the same thing that they mentioned in that Star Citizen Live, but I think they say it here in this Inside Star
as they have actually paid for. So if somebody has asked for 500 units of quantum, and you open the nozzle at full throttle, and send 2,000 their way, well, then most of that fuel is just gonna spill into space. You're gonna lose it. And so there's a bit of yes, people want somebody who's very fast and efficient, but don't burn your own fuel.
Once the entire fuel was delivered to the dock ship, the attached ship can undock and both parties can
have that functionality
and refuel.
Here it is. This is it. This always drove me nuts.
They will have to rely on someone bringing fuel. The fighter right now, all of the ships that, let's say, are basic fighter ship, they're not going to have that functionality. They will have to rely on someone bringing fuel to them.
In our first iteration of refueling right now, we sadly don't have the quantum beacon set up yet. So if you run out of fuel, you ask for someone in chat who owns a Starfarer to come by and refuel you.
See, that's insane to me. And it goes back to what I was talking about with the NPCs being in the game. If NPC missions work in this game and people know they're NPCs to refuel, then they'll go out in their Starfarers expecting to refuel them. But to say, go in global chat and ask folks who are flying around in their random, specialized, massive target of a ship to come by and find you after you've typed in the global chat. It's like the people aren't even in the ship. And then even if they were, why would they just fly to some random location? And like it could be an ambush in either direction. It's the craziest solution. And this has been the way that it's been since it launched. What, 5 years ago? 4 years ago? And it's absolutely crazy that we still don't have beacons. How are we getting refueling right now and we still don't have beacons to use them with? But that's probably why we're getting it with these missions, because if we didn't, there'd be no reliable way to still do it. So we'll see how it goes. This has been everything that we really kind of have seen so far in the development of it. I'm sure I've missed some stuff. We're going to get some more information next month for sure. I wanted to give you everything we knew up until now, especially the biggest frustration being there's not even a reliable way to ask for somebody to come refuel you. So the ball's in your court, CIG. We will see what they do with it.